Are you thinking about making a move to the Middle Tennessee area and you're trying to decide between Brentwood, Franklin, or Nolensville? What do you need to know about these communities? Pros and cons of both. If you're questioning that or you're wanting the answers, then stay tuned because that's exactly what we're talking about in today's video. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Caitlin Martin. I'm a local Nashville real estate agent, founder of the Caitlin Martin team, powered by Weikert Realtors, the Andrews Group. In today's video, we are talking about the pros and cons or the differences between Brentwood, Franklin, and Nolensville. These are areas that folks tend to compare a lot of times, and I know when you're searching online, it can be really difficult sometimes to just be like, what is it that I really need to know about these different communities? Well, that's exactly what we're talking about in today's video. So without further ado, let's first go and take a look at the locations of it just so you have a reference point, and then we're going to come back. We're going to be talking about everything from the average home sale price, the things to know about the different communities. So stick around. Let's first talk location, and then we'll be right back. Okay, so if we are looking at the various communities, Brentwood, Franklin, Nolensville, let's take a look at the map where they are. So you can see Nashville here at the top of our map, and then just a little bit over to the east side is where you're going to find the Nashville International Airport. Now, if we go down Interstate 65, that's going to run us right into Brentwood. And then if we go a little bit further down 65, you'll see that Franklin is going to be located on the west side of 65. However, if we're looking at what all is considered Franklin does come over to the east side, but most of it's going to be located on the west side of 65. And then Nolensville is going to be located right here. So if you'll notice about Nolensville is going to be in between Interstate 24 and 65. It's going to take you about 10 plus minutes, 10, 12 minutes, depending on where you are in Nolensville, to get to either 24 or 65. So that could potentially be a drawback. But the other thing to know about Nolensville is you do have back roads that can help you get to places like the airport or get you into Franklin, which makes it really nice that you're not always having to get onto the interstate. And also, if you head straight down Nolensville, it ends up getting you to 840, which can take you over to the Murfreesboro area. It can take you to Thompson Station, the Arrington area. So this is just a good reference point of just where they are on a map, because I know sometimes when you're researching and exploring, you can just be like, okay, but like, where is it in relation to downtown Nashville, or what do I need to know about the location? So these are a couple of things to keep in mind just as we're talking about the various communities. So now that we've looked at the map, let's talk about the other things that you need to know about these communities. So Brentwood, first and foremost, as you saw, it's going to be the closest in terms of relation to downtown Nashville. Also, it's generally going to be the closest to getting you to the Nashville International Airport. So that can be a reason why folks end up choosing the Brentwood area over the others, just because there you're typically around 15, 20 minutes. Now it could be longer depending on traffic and time of day, but you can typically find a couple of back roads in order to get to the airport. So that is, in my opinion, one of the pros about bringing in the Brentwood area. Okay, so now let's talk about the average and median home sale prices for Franklin, Brentwood, and Nolensville. A couple of things to know as we get ready to dive into this is Brentwood, Franklin, and Nolensville, they are all within Williamson County. So Williamson County, one of the draws of it for folks is the higher rated school scores. One thing to note, both Brentwood and Nolensville, there is a sliver of both that does fall into Davidson County, but the majority of it is going to be within Williamson. So if you're looking in Nolensville, it's always a good thing to keep in mind to make sure, because some neighborhoods, they're at the top of where Williamson County cuts off. Neighborhoods can actually split the line. And the way that schools work here in the Williamson County area is if you're zoned for Davidson, you go to Davidson. If you're zoned for Williamson, you go to Williamson. And just because you may be one house over the line, you don't have the option to rezone yourself into Williamson County. So that is something to note. But again, most of Nolensville and most of Brentwood is falling within Williamson County. Okay, so let's talk about it. Brentwood, when we look at the average home sale price in Brentwood, we're looking at 1.75 million, but yet when we're looking at the median, it's sitting at 1.439 million. Brentwood is going to have the highest average sales price. Now, when we look at Franklin, the average home sale price is 1.277 million, but yet when we look at the median, it's 1,075,000. And then if we go to Nolensville, and this is all for single family homes in these areas, and then if we look at Nolensville, the average is 825,000, whereas the median is 785,000. So that's one thing to know about Nolensville, is that a lot of folks gravitate more towards Nolensville because you still get the benefit of being zoned for Williamson County schools, while at the same time not having as high of a price tag as, say, Brentwood or Franklin. So let's talk about the different communities and what you can expect. So when you look at Brentwood, Brentwood is one that does not have its own downtown the way that Franklin does and the way that Nolensville does. But Brentwood, you do still have a lot of shopping right there that makes it still really convenient. So you do have the Brentwood Hill Center, which is going to have shops, offices, retail, dining options, all right there. That makes it really convenient. And also, depending on where you're located in the Brentwood area, you also have a back way into the Cool Springs area, which is technically in the Franklin area. Now, Cool Springs, if you've seen any of my other videos, or if you've been researching Franklin, you've come across Cool Springs. Cool Springs is the area within Franklin that has pretty much anything that you could possibly want in the Franklin area. So we're talking, of course, shops, grocery stores, retail, dining, you have your Home Depots, you have the big Cool Springs Galleria Mall right there. So the Cool Springs area is really your hub for everything. Now, that doesn't mean that there's not shopping and opportunities elsewhere in Franklin, because of course there is, but that is kind of your main centralized hub. So of course you can see more traffic around it. But again, depending on where you're located in the Brentwood area, you do have this nice back access to get you into that Cool Springs area. Now, when we look at Nolensville, like I said, it does have a downtown. Franklin's downtown is going to be that really charming, feels like you stepped into a Hallmark movie, that Civil War architecture style. Main Street, in downtown Franklin, it's actually been named one of the best main streets in all of America. I mean, it just oozes Southern charm. But when you go to Nolensville, you do have a little downtown strip. However, Nolensville is going to be far more rural. It feels far more like a farm community. It's more of that like charming farm feel to it. So if you, to kind of give an example, in Franklin, you've got the square with the main street right there, whereas in Nolensville, right kind of the main strip of that downtown area, you've got like a feed mill, but you also have some cute like mom and pop shops. You've got local boutiques. So again, it's really cute and quaint, and Nolensville continues to be built out. There's actually an area called Burkett Commons now, which is a great place where they've got a hair salon, they've got a great nail place, they've got restaurants there, and then that actually backs up to some townhome options that you have within that community. Nolensville is one that really, over the last 10 years, we've watched that area continue to grow. Nolensville is beautiful. You can absolutely see a lot of the rolling hills around you within Nolensville. There are several communities where you can actually see them in the distance. It's a really beautiful, it's got that small town feel. It's not overgrown with new neighborhoods. Like, you still have these beautiful open lands. You can see these open rolling hills. It's really, really beautiful. However, when it comes to Nolensville, kind of one of the downsides is that the infrastructure just hasn't been built up yet. So Nolensville Road around school times, it can get really congested, which, that's kind of one of the drawbacks. Now, if they were able to sync up the lights, that would make a world of difference. But overall, I mean, Nolensville is going to be more of your quiet community. There's not nightlife within Nolensville. There's really not a ton of nightlife in general in terms of Franklin, Brentwood, or Nolensville. Like, there's a few places in Franklin, but again, it's nothing like downtown Nashville. These are more oriented towards the lifestyle that, with families and whatnot. So that's something to know about Nolensville. You also have several back ways that get into Franklin. So that also makes it nice and convenient. You know, if you want to live in Nolensville, but you're still going to have easy access to Franklin, you don't have to get on interstates to get there, which makes it really nice. Now let's talk about Franklin. We've already mentioned a couple of things about it. You have the really charming downtown community, and that can be one of the biggest draws for folks because they just love to go shop, experience it. Downtown Franklin has several festivals throughout the year. Around the 4th of July, all of the shops have the half American flag hanging in the windows. Then you have Pumpkin Fest every year, which draws in folks from around the country. Around Christmas, you have Dickens of a Christmas Festival. So you have a lot of great events that just bring out the community, which is wonderful. You also, one thing to know about both Franklin and Nolensville, each have their own farmers market. Now Franklin's is going to be far grander. It's going to be there near the factory at Franklin, which is close to downtown Franklin. So you do have that. Nolensville has its own version, just on a smaller scale. But if you are somebody that enjoys farmers markets, both of those have it. Now that's not to say that if you're in Brentwood, honestly, in Brentwood, you're kind of equal distance to getting to either one. So that can make it really nice and convenient as well. Franklin, when it comes to what to expect in Franklin, you're going to typically get a house on a smaller lot. You have plenty of established communities. Nolensville, you can get a little bit of a mixed bag. You definitely do have newer communities that have been developed within the last 5 to 10 years, where you can sit around a quarter of an acre to a third of an acre. Some neighborhoods you can get a little bit bigger. Also in Nolensville, there are opportunities to get an older home that sits on acreage, or sometimes a newer home that sits on acreage. You kind of get a little bit of both. Now in Franklin, most are going to be established neighborhoods. They're going to be around that quarter of an acre size. Now, if you are wanting more space, if you look out to the west side of Franklin, that's an area called Leaper's Fork. Leaper's Fork, I've done a video on it. You can click up here, go check that out. Leaper's Fork to me is kind of like Franklin's like best kept secret almost, although more people are learning about it now, but it does have its own really charming little downtown area. I mean, when you go to Leaper's Fork, it just feels like you're stepping back decades ago. It's very quaint, very, very charming. It's wonderful out there. But Leaper's Fork is the part of Franklin, because Leaper's Fork is considered a part of Franklin. That is the area where if you want a house on acreage, that's where you go. But Leaper's Fork does come at a higher price point. Most of the time you're looking at you're really looking at close to that 2 million plus to get what you're looking for in the Leaper's Fork community. So these are a couple of things to know. Now in Brentwood used to be a lot of farmland before it was developed into these established neighborhoods, but Brentwood is where you tend to get more estate-like homes that are gonna sit on larger lots, more like half acre, 3/4 of an acre, up to an acre. Now, when we're looking at new build opportunities, there are new build opportunities in Brentwood, but that price point, most new builds in Brentwood now are going to start at that 3 million and above range. There are a few pocket opportunities here and there to land around the 2.5 to 3 million range, but most now are going to be 3 million and above. Now, when it comes to Franklin, there are several new build opportunities, but really new builds within the Franklin area, you're looking around that 1.2 to 1.5, 1.7 range, depending on upgrades, floor plan, all of that. But you definitely have several opportunities for new builds within Franklin. And then within Nolensville, there are new communities coming, one of those being the Farrington community. Now, the Farrington community is going to kind of be like a sister neighborhood of the West Haven community that's in Franklin. I've done videos on West Haven before, but it's a fantastic master planned community with a village center with shops, dining. West Haven has its own grocery store within the community. It's a golf cart community, but there are new build opportunities that are now coming to the Nolensville area, and there's a couple of other communities that they are getting ready to release, which is really exciting. So no matter where you're looking, you do have new build opportunities. In Nolensville, especially in Farrington, those first homes are going to be released in the mid 800,000s, but you know, and those are going to be for the back alley loading garages where you've got a side yard. The ones that are going to be coming in that community that will have a true backyard, the pricing is going to start most likely around 1.2 million. So that kind of gives you an idea of where pricing is if you want new builds. Now, again, you have the opportunity in all of these communities that we're talking about. It just depends on what's going to fit your lifestyle best. What are you looking for? You know, Brentwood, you tend to get communities with more established trees, so you get more of that like lived in community feel. Whereas you kind of have a little bit of a mixed bag when it comes to Franklin and Nolensville in terms of, you know, the way that they have landscaped and developed the new communities that are coming. But overall, when you're looking at which one's the best fit for you, it really comes down to your lifestyle, how you live. You know, there's a lot of outdoor opportunity in all three of these communities. And one other thing to consider if getting to the airport, if you travel for work, couple of things to note. In Brentwood, you're going to be about 15, 20-ish minutes, could be a little bit longer depending on where in Brentwood you are, and of course traffic, but there are a couple of back ways into the airport, which makes it nice. In Franklin, you're anywhere between 30 to 45 minutes. The further west you are in Franklin, the closer to that 45-minute mark that you're going to be. And then in Nolensville, you're really looking around that 30, 35-minute range, again, depending on where you are and of course traffic. But those are some things to keep in mind because, you know, folks do ask about getting into the airport, especially for work travel. So that's just something to keep in mind when you're exploring all of these communities. If you're really trying to decide, my best piece of advice is always to plan a trip here so that you can explore these communities. We love to help guide folks through this process because we found that when folks go through our process, we start with a wide net and we narrow it down based off of feedback. It really helps buyers feel far more secure and confident in where it is that they're buying. And again, what ultimately fits the lifestyle that you are looking for. Now, if you're wondering about areas like College Grove, Thompson Station, Arrington, I will be doing a video that'll be coming out soon about those communities as well. So keep an eye out for that. Subscribe so that you were notified anytime those new videos release. Again, if you're looking to move to the Middle Tennessee area, if you have questions about moving to Williamson County, all of my contact information is below. Again, my name is Caitlin Martin. I'll see you next time.